Oh, hello, I'm Pam Hoffman, Everyday Spacer.
I'm Jeff Miller, 2049 Outfitters.
At Everyday Spacer, we show regular folks how to personally and directly participate in space exploration, science, and astronomy. We're here on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, 12 midnight Eastern Time, and 3 p.m. on Saturday in Queensland, Australia. We're broadcasting live from Thousand Oaks, California. Thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome to Listener Questions Only Show. To the listener questions only show. I keep forgetting the word the. Maybe we should remove it from the English language. That'd be good. We'll be back in 6.8 seconds. Okay. So we've got Cliff here.
Hi, Cliff.
You had a what do you think about the Starlink, as Elon wants to put up 30,000 more in stage 2 and others as well? Well, we can handle that in the questions and answers, but yeah, that's something for us to talk about in the questions and answers.
Yeah, sounds good. And Scott's here too. Welcome.
Yeah. Hi, Scott. Yeah, we've got a new camera. We're testing it out. We may not keep this one.
But we did check for sound before we started. That was the problem last time. We did not check for sound. Very important.
Yeah. Well, and the old camera was dropping sound every once in a while. We'd have to unplug it and plug it back in just to get sound back.
I think that was part of the electronics. Anyway, tonight, listener questions. And you want to read this part?
Oh, yeah. We decided on questions from these sources. Questions from earlier. We called for people to post questions in the previous show's comments. Questions from tonight, which we've already got one from Cliff. And in case we run out of questions, frequently asked questions from around the internet. And the first, and the show was inspired by a question that David Reneke asked us.
And by accident. Sorry.
Yep. And
oh, that's the table. So I'll be careful. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Cliff. We've put the monitors on the table, so if we bump the table at all, it everything shakes.
Yeah.
So sorry.
We'll try not to do that.
We'll be careful.
Yeah. Or if we bump the table, we'll try to move in the same pattern so that it looks the same. Then the only thing shaking is the background.
We're doing this part here.
Yeah.
So we'll post your questions live like this.
Yep. And he was asking about questions about any subject of astronomy, but also using a telescope and various observing techniques. So we can get into some of that too.
And we're open to anything having to do with space exploration, science, and astronomy. If you ask us about astrology, I have no expertise in that. If you ask us about UFOs, I have no expertise in that. Of course, I will have maybe some funny quips for you. Anyway, so yeah. Absolutely. Thank you, Dave. If we do this periodically, we could focus on, specific areas of interest or topics, that kind of thing. We did actually hear from someone in advance last week, on the Everyday Spacer Facebook page. So we're going to kick it off with this from Zip Ross.
Yep. And he had basically a 2-part question. Recommendations for a first telescope, and it doesn't have to be a budget telescope. And he had a follow-up question, which is, would you recommend starting with a good set of binoculars rather than a telescope? If so, any recommendations?
So here's my thinking on it. I would check for free options first. And what I mean by that is go to a star party in your area. That way you can, hop from telescope to telescope, and you can actually see what other people already have. And, be very polite, be very careful with their equipment because it can be very expensive or nostalgic. Sometimes it's passed down from family members, that kind of thing. And just look and start to formulate what you like. Do you like this sort of thing, or is it easy to run? Like if you are playing with a robotics scope, you want to be sure you like computers more than astronomy because that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be playing with the computer. a lot. Also, you could go to a local club, and they sometimes will have donations from their community that have offered to, let them have telescopes. And in fact, I have a 10-inch f4.7 telescope, Dobsonian telescope, here that I've been using for years for the cost of my membership to my local astronomy club.
And just give a shout out then to Ventura County Astronomical Society.
Yeah, that's the club in our area.
Because they're local and they're really good people.
Yeah, and sometimes libraries will have a lending, telescope they can lend out to people, and sometimes it's available for just a couple of weeks. But yeah, star parties, see how they work. And I really think you can get a feel for, is this more blue? Is this more red? Do I like this? Do I like that? Are there a lot of other things that can come along with it? A lot of accessories. Can you actually put, things to it, eyepieces, that kind of thing, that will help enhance your experience, that kind of thing. Anyone out there know about these possibilities? So I really think that if you look through telescopes before buying one, you will get an idea of what you like. Yeah. All right, so we had some other things we want to go back to the top here with Cliff.
Oh yeah, Cliff.
Great, thanks.
What do you think about Starlink? Well, from a society standpoint, I think it's a good idea to have internet in locations that don't normally have internet. From an observing standpoint, I think it's something that we're going to have to put up with.
Well, it is kind of fun to go out there. In fact, I'm doing laundry one night at the laundry room in our complex here. Jeff comes out and he's like, "Oh, come and look. There's a train of the Starlink satellites." And I got video of it, and it was very interesting. And you really can't see them after they're in position, I don't think. Tell us if you've actually seen them once they're, not in that train of satellites right after they launch, but when they're in their network in position. I mean, can you see them from the ground if you, either naked eye or if you have a small telescope? Do they really interfere? I don't know. And of course, Elon Musk has responded to this by making them a little bit less obvious. I don't know exactly what it was. Maybe somebody from the audience will know. Did they in fact, put non-reflective paint on them? Something like that. I don't know.
Possibly, or just
I don't remember what
or just matting out the finish on them, maybe. But
yeah.
Also, and I have seen photos. I think where it really affects people is when they're doing timed photos, long exposure photos, because that gives a chance for a streak to go across it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But is it a real problem? I don't really know.
Yeah. And Cliff has an answer from our previous one, and he has donation scopes, so people are daunted on using one. Yeah, I get that, which is kind of why Star Party is good, because you can have someone tell you what's going on.
Yeah, it's a great way to learn from people who have experience. They've gone through the process of picking a telescope. They have a telescope. Mm-hmm. They're operating at one or more, and they will be in a good position to answer your questions about that particular piece of equipment. So, and maybe we could do, some kind of, Jeff was actually talking about it right before this. Maybe we do an astronomy primer type show every now and again. We did have a couple of fellows from Canada who had some really great ideas about, how to get started with astronomy, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, we're good to go with any of the possibilities here.
Yeah, I think revisiting some of basic questions like that is actually a good thing, because for one thing, we learn more as we go on, so we can talk more about it.
Oh yeah.
And plus we can have other guests who have different opinions about, because they definitely had their own opinions about what a good scope was, and to answer Zeph's
back up here
question. Zeph Russ.
This one or this one?
Actually, both of them. Is that they actually talked about that on that show. So, just going back to that show would be a good starting point on that. Yeah. Cliff, NASA's worried about Starlink, and a lot came down in the last CME.
Yeah, about 40 out of 49 that were launched, in fact, came back to Earth. And a CME, for those who are curious, is a coronal mass ejection. That is when the sun, material from the sun blasts into outer space, and sometimes it comes back, and sometimes it just keeps going.
Well, and CME you could think of as a gust of wind. And that's why, these things floating out there can get pushed around, usually not by much, but if you're that close to the atmosphere, like the Starlink ones are, it can, that can be disastrous if it blows you in the wrong direction, slows you down enough to dip in, or just pushes you in.
And that gives me a great idea, because there is a website out there called Space Weather. We could, in fact, do a whole show on that, because I've used it. I've been there. I've seen it. Not lately, but it's like, there's a lot more to that website than I've ever really delved into. That might be a great demonstration project. So see, thank you for spurring on ideas for other shows. That's awesome. All right. So we'll keep watching for your questions. I think Jeff found something online that might, kind of stimulate us a little bit more. This is a very good question, actually.
Yeah, I meant in one of our very earliest shows, I talked about websites that you can go into discussion groups.
Right.
And one of them is Astronomy on Stack Exchange. And I just, looking for other questions, found this one. It's fairly basic to a lot of us, but it's from someone who just couldn't understand something. If Betelgeuse is exploding in 2022, why would we see the explosion in 2022? So in some ways, this questioner gets the fact that light takes time to travel.
Right.
But I guess it's a terminology issue of, when we say it's exploding in 2022, it just means that we're going to see it explode.
It appears to be exploding.
Yeah.
It appears to us on Earth at this time.
Because anything that you see is something that happened in the past. In fact, anything that you see is something that happened in the past, even though, like, if we're, a couple meters away from each other, it was so recent that it doesn't matter. But
it's the very recent past. But
yeah.
All right, we did get a couple more thoughts here. Okay, so let's go with Cliff.
Celestron scopes are good quality for your buck and lots to choose. Yeah.
There's some great brand names out there, and sometimes it's a matter of personal preference. So, and David had a good comment here too. So yeah, awesome.
I've been advising on first scopes for dozens of years. I believe me, there are only two good suggestions: a 90 millimeter AZ refractor or an 8-inch Skywatch Dobsonian.
Well, and then you have things like, do you have the, where it's kind of with motors and stuff slews over? And I tend to recommend against that, because you're just going to have so much frustration with it unless you really like computers more than you're interested in going and looking at objects in the night sky.
Well, I guess it's easier to start off with that if you're going into it from a computer background. Whereas you might have to learn this if you're going into it from an astronomy background.
Maybe. And I'll give you a couple of instances. There was someone who came out to a star party with one in this area, and he sat there going, oh, we had a time change. And he did not know how to adjust and I'll just use the term I like as a robotoscope. He didn't know how to adjust for that time change, and he was not really able to use the telescope. Me, I'm very much point, shoot, let's get to it, let's do it. Let's get people, coming and looking and getting excited about astronomy. I don't want them to wait around.
And just rastering the scope, trying to find the object. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, it's so much more fun and easy to just point and shoot. Really, the robotoscope part, you can get into a lot of problems. You can run out of power. You can, not have it set up right. There's polar alignment and stuff. I don't know. To me, it's just.
Well, and okay, so here's some quick suggestions. Aside from having a spotting scope on it, which gets you in the general ballpark, which is always good. Rastering, I talked about, you kind of go left, right, up and down in the general area until you spot it. The other one is you find something on the horizon that's underneath the object, just visually find it.
Yeah.
Then you go find that thing in the scope and then just go straight up from there.
Yeah, that was my hack because my spotting scope didn't have a finder on it. And I'm like really trying hard to figure out how to find things without it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Cliff says, and magazines are a good learning from and he loves Sky and as I loved the Sky at Night BBC and Sir
Patrick Moore
for many years. Yeah.
Yeah, Sir Patrick Moore, pretty fabulous, and pretty much a popularizer, right? But maybe he was an astronomer too. I don't know a lot about him. Cliff, tell us what you know because you actually watched the show. I don't remember seeing even the possibility of watching that show in the United States. Yeah. So it may have been here, but I don't remember seeing that.
I don't think it was.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, magazines are a good source, but here's the cynic in me, and I don't know if this applies to, to astronomy magazines, but magazines tend to recommend products that are advertised in the magazines. So
possibly,
it all depends on if the astronomy magazines are different, or if you might have to get a number of different magazines from different publishers to get a broad spectrum so that you can compare and contrast.
And there's certainly plenty online these days. But I did get someone asking me through my meetup about a telescope that he got, and it was a very fancy telescope, very expensive. It was a robotoscope. And he says, I've watched all these videos, but I still don't know how to work it. And he was in Boston, I'm in California. And the idea was to get together on the phone and then maybe on Zoom and do some demonstration. But I think he just got really busy, and we have not connected. So even with a lot of those resources, and I can imagine that a video would be somewhat superior to a magazine because, you can see a progression of the steps and see it in action. Even better would be in person. And I mean, I've helped people. They've come over and we've been out here and we've, I figured out what was wrong and show them. And when they were struggling, they were absolutely struggling. But, my experience is I started with a group of people who knew, how to use telescopes and how to find things. And so it was a mentoring kind of thing too. But we are wiggling the table again.
Oh, sorry. Okay. David asks, if you don't have a telescope, do this. Place a message on your local Facebook page.
Yep.
Telling people you are a beginner and need help. Yeah,
absolutely.
Because a lot of the people,
I love that idea.
A lot of the people who are into astronomy and know stuff like to help other people. Ask if anyone has an unwanted telescope they'd like to donate to you.
Oh, you got 20.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I actually went to it's a site I know that is out here in the United States. I don't know if they plan to go bigger than that at some point. It's called nextdoor.com. And I just posted ISO in search of equipment for my astronomy group. And I was donated several pieces, one of which was an enormous, beautiful binocular stand, which we have a wonderful pair of binoculars. Could never use them, though, because they're just too heavy to hold. Wow. Now that we have the binocular stand, it works brilliantly.
Well, the binoculars are too high powered to hold. Any small object, like a planet, would just be all over your field of view.
Yeah, and they were like front heavy. You held them here, but most of the weight was up in front, and it was really they just kept falling basically.
Yeah.
So.
But So let's see what else.
Two 8-inch Dobsonians, a 10-inch. Wow.
Yeah.
590 millimeter refractors, a Celestron go-to. Wow, half a dozen suitable for young adult school kids. That's amazing and fantastic. Yeah, that is a great suggestion. Thank you so much, Dave. What else do we have? He was an astronomer. The Russians used his moon charts to send stuff to the moon. He was invited to meet. Let's see, that must reference.
Yeah.
Let's see. Before, what was the before?
Oh, Sir Patrick Moore.
Sir Patrick Moore. Awesome. Thank you very much. I did not know that. Really appreciate that, Cliff. All right. So I went to a couple of websites. I did a search, FAQ astronomy, and there's a wonderful site, seasky.org, and they had a whole big list. Like, do I need an expensive telescope to enjoy astronomy? You don't need a telescope at all to enjoy astronomy. I love to reference this one just beautiful website, skymaps.com. And you can download every single month for free a 2-page PDF that has one side with the sky, with a map of the sky on it, and some ephemeris, like, the days of the month, the things that are happening. They have some symbols and other things. But then on the other side, it has things you can see naked eye, things you can see with binoculars. And a lot of people have binoculars from other things. People watch birds, whatever. And then things you can see with a telescope. And I have literally used it as a checklist, a sort of goals to go for in the night. And I saw that, I check them right off. And I'll put the date, so it's kind of journaling. It's all kind of right there, and it gives you a great way to set goals and reach them. Yeah, we got some more questions.
Yep, David. You'll be bloody amazed how many scopes are lying around out there. Yeah.
Well, our local club had about 30. They had about 30 in the shed. And, they said to the members, please, check them out. And my thinking is, like, if you borrow one from your club and you say, yeah, it's too heavy, I don't like it, whatever, say, can I return this one and borrow a different one? Then you get a real feel for what the possibilities are. Yeah. And they had trouble loaning them out. We had, I think after a while, there were about 6 of us who borrowed. They kept harping on, you borrow a scope from the club, and eventually they did get about 6 people. But still, that's a lot of telescopes hanging around.
And there's probably a lot of telescopes that are sitting in garages collecting dust.
Well, and if someone's into it and they die, then their spouse is left to try and figure out what the heck to do with it. In fact, the club, the Ventura County Astronomical Club here, they got some just incredible equipment from basically widows that didn't know what to do with it, and they're very, very special pieces. They were handmade. They had all kinds of fancy accoutrements to them. I mean, just some incredible pieces. They weren't loaning out that one, but they did bring it out for, like, the star parties up at the college. It's at the college here.
Yep. And Cliff has some 11 scopes with the weather. Yeah. Well, if you would stop buying scopes, it might stop raining.
He said it wasn't his fault.
Oh, let's see.
Oh, you can rent them. I have not seen that. Okay.
Yeah.
You can use the telescopes from the members from the one show. They're basically just based somewhere, and you put in a request, and as the night wears on, they'll fulfill the request and then send you an email with it the next day. We'd have to look up which show that was, but we did a whole show on.
Yeah,
and they had funny names like Ben. Your picture comes from Ben, the telescope named Ben.
Yes.
Or Annie. There were different names.
David, tip: when it's time to buy a scope and you're in the dark, contact a member of a local astro club and to go with you. Yeah. We have not seen a member of any club say no to this.
Yeah, I find that most of the people from local astronomy clubs are quite civilized. Now, I did find some issues out here where they had an event going and they didn't want people to come in with lights, and they were a little bit rude. So I was not pleased about that. But yeah, most of the members themselves will be extremely generous with their time, their equipment, their knowledge.
Yeah, and you've got people are people. In any group.
There's the spectrum for everywhere you go.
And some of them are on the spectrum, but just saying. So, yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So do we want to look at any of the other ones? We've been at this for about 25 minutes. So
let's look at a couple. See if anything comes
How
up.
does the telescope work? That could be a whole show. We could talk about the different kinds of telescopes, the way the light, runs back and forth inside of them, that kind of thing. I've actually ground a mirror for a telescope, so I know something about that. I mean, there's a lot. That's a really loaded question. How does a telescope work? And maybe we'll do a whole show.
Lens versus mirror.
Yeah, that's a whole big issue. So next one here, and again, this is Sea-Sky. I'm just kind of going down them. seasky.org.
Oh, and it's SEA Sky. Yeah,
SEASKY.org. Why can't I see very many stars at night? My first thought is that, do you have a lot of ambient light from, the houses in the streets and different things like that? If you have that going on, you're not going to see as many stars. You'll see planets and the moon and space station.
Yep. Although if you're in the middle of the desert and you don't see very many stars, maybe you start thinking that Thanos is at work.
Or go to the eye doctor. Oh, here, where does space begin? Oh, well, for me, it's all space. I mean, you're soaking in it, as the old Palmolive commercial used to say.
What is it? 60 meters, 100 meters, or
kilometers. Well, okay.
Kilometers, sorry. 60 kilometers, 100
I've
kilometers.
I've heard that 100 kilometers from the surface of the Earth is considered space. Up for grabs.
Telescopes today are made to a price, not a quality. Yeah. Avoid anything under $300. Yeah. And do not buy from a department store. They have no experience with telescopes. Go to a telescope shop or a camera shop. Yeah. And most of our telescope shops are camera shops. We had one in Simi Valley that closed a few years ago. But that was and
I'm going to make another comment on this because, and I actually won this, but I know the price of these. I won a spotting scope, and this is basically a very small, pretty much I would describe it as half of a binocular because it's got a prism in it, so it corrects. It's very lightweight, it's very inexpensive, and I looked through it the first time and just was blown away at the optics because we have computers now that will help with that, measuring and grinding and all that of the optics, and compared to old stuff. And I think I priced out this particular one and it was about $50. So 50 to 100, you could get a spotting scope. You set it up in 2 minutes, you're up and running. You can look at things. I just think it's incredible how easy it is to get into this now. And I don't know that you have to pay that much. And I think a spotting scope, well, I don't know about department stores. You can definitely get it online, and you could definitely get them. I won mine from the local, camera telescope shop.
Yeah, when online, I would follow David's suggestion and get someone to help you with that because you never know what you're getting.
Well, and the major shops do have an online presence, and they probably have a phone number. With customer service, you could call. Yeah. Now, I would worry about that, though, because they're going to want to sell you something that's high-end and it's a robotoscope. And you might want to just say, I really need something I can use to observe with.
Yeah, that's why I like David's suggestion of you find someone from a local club.
Yeah.
They'll give you, they don't have an axe to grind with that.
No, right. Yeah.
Okay. And if you can pick the scope up assembled with one hand, run like it'll wobble in the slightest breeze. Yeah, well, spotting scopes are a little bit different there because you just have to get a decent tripod for it. But yeah, you're right. If you can pick up the whole assembly easily, yeah, it's a little.
I can pick up mine with one hand.
Not the Dob.
No, not the Dobsonian, the spotting scope.
Yep. But then our stand for it, if we use the binocular stand for it, that's pretty hefty.
Oh yeah, the binocular stand.
You can still pick it up with one hand, but it's not
me.
Okay. Cliff, there's a great video on YouTube of John Dobson grinding mirrors. Yeah.
I got to meet John Dobson.
Yeah. Okay.
That's pretty cool.
Don't know what you're...
Morgan, you're going to have to help us out. What in the heck does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. So, do we want to look at any of the other ones?
Um,
Where does space begin? Why is the sky blue? Why is the sky dark at night? What is the speed of light? These are very esoteric questions. Yes, another tip for beginners. If I am not being a bore. Oh, absolutely not. God, are you kidding? If you have binoculars, get a small clamp from your camera shop to attach it to a camera tripod. Yes, you will have a small telescope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's adapters.
Yeah, L-shaped adapters, and that's what we have on what we call our binoculars tripod, simply because we have the adapter on it for the binoculars. But it's a really good tripod that's heavy enough that the lightweight binoculars don't wiggle around too much. So yeah, I actually heard from someone talking about why the sky is blue, is that it has more to do with the density of the air and the air pressure than what makes up the air.
Oh, interesting.
And
I thought it was because of the dust and whatnot.
Well, yeah, but apparently different atmospheric combinations at different pressures can be blue.
Oh.
And that at low pressures, it goes to the red side. And
like Mars.
Yeah.
All right. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. There was a stack exchange. There was a whole discussion on what would be this color of the sky with this atmospheric composition. And the main thing that it turned out to be was air pressure.
So I see two things. I'm going to go ahead and hang on just a second, Dave. Oh, and then we got a third one showing up because Cliff had this before. If you have a 2-star A-line computer scopes for them to work. Oh, you have to have 2-star alignment. I think it's alignment. Is that what you're saying? For them to work. Yeah. If you have a robotics scope, you have to find a couple of known star positions in order for them to find out where they are and what they're doing. You need to know the time. And I think your latitude. Yeah, latitude. Right? Isn't that right, Cliff? You probably have more of them than I do. And Dave, absolutely. I want quirky questions.
What do you think we've been doing? Okay, and
while we're waiting for that, Cliff says reflection of light. A reflection of for the sky. Why the sky is blue?
Yeah. Yeah, and different pressures allow different refractions just because there's different distances between the molecules.
Okay. I love this one. Did Galileo invent the telescope? Anyone?
No. No, he bought one and
from the Dutch, I think, right?
Well, the Dutch got it from the Middle East, because the Dutch had had a lot of shipping going on, but he basically used what he bought and started making his own.
Yeah, and I think he used it in a somewhat unique way too, because I believe
he was the first one to point it upward.
Yeah, because what they were doing with them was
spotting ships.
Yeah, in ships, and they spotted land, and and maybe they were doing some navigating too. But he actually looked at Jupiter and drew pictures of the moons of Jupiter and watched as they changed, at various times, night after night. Yeah. So, Dave, where's your quirky question?
Yes. Yeah.
I want to see it. Here we go. What?
Yeah.
All right. So here's a UFO question. I have no expertise in that area.
And here's my response to it. I have no expertise in this. This is just an opinion, but based on how people work. If we had them, they wouldn't be in Area 51. They'd be in Area 52 because everyone's looking at Area 51. Whatever Area 52 is, who knows? But so
there's probably one out there.
Yeah, if we have them, they're somewhere else. Basically, Area 51 is the dog and pony show. It's them saying, "Look here."
It's a red herring. All right, and Cliff says, "And space is dark because light has nothing to reflect off." Ooh, yeah. I heard something else which I don't remember, but I like it.
Yeah. The other question is, if there's stars everywhere you look, how does it look? How are there dark spots in the sky?
Right.
at night. But that's, you know,
Isn't it something that the light from the stars is
well,
it
there's
dissipates too much by the time it gets to, or
well,
something? I don't know.
there's space isn't as empty as you think. There's dust, there's molecules in there, and so eventually it absorbs enough.
Ah,
If
okay.
if you get enough of it between you and the object, it absorbs it. And also, space is big.
Space is big.
Very big.
Very big. Yeah. Do we want to look at the Earth ones, Sun ones, the Moon? What's your pleasure? Tell us what you like. Earth, Sun, Moon. What else is on this list? The solar system. How many oh, this is a good one. How many planets are there in the solar system? Well, apparently Pluto is now a planet again. Did you hear about that? I just read something and it's like, oh, that's cool. I mean, I never thought it wasn't, but
yeah, so there, Tyson.
Well, and I forget exactly why they decided it. And I remember there was a book about, why he busted Pluto or why he demoted Pluto or something, because it hadn't cleared all of the debris in its orbital path. So I don't know why. If anybody out there knows why Pluto is now considered a planet again,
well,
I'd love to hear.
I have to
read it. The article again.
I think they were trying to say, okay, why is Pluto a planet and Ceres isn't? Because they're basically the same,
right?
Roughly close enough in size. They're both spherical. They both don't orbit something other than the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So why is for a short time, Ceres was a planet. When it was first discovered, it was listed as a planet.
I think I read something about that.
Yeah. So
so I think Cliff has another one.
Yeah, we've got a bunch going.
We saw that.
We saw that one.
Yep.
Wait, you still want to go to Area 51? Oh,
I didn't know about that in 2017. That trip was hey, can we go there? I didn't know.
Yeah. You know what? You can go. You basically, if you try to sneak onto the base, you'll get into trouble. But you can go there. There's a lot of tourist shops around there.
I imagine so. I don't know.
But yeah.
And it's desert basically. So
mm-hmm.
Bucket list items: return to the U.S. and get a photo of me climbing.
If you ask politely, they might let you do it just for the photo and not shoot your ass. But just saying.
Of course, it's easier to get forgiven than to get permission, unless you're dead.
Yeah, well, there's less consequences if you ask first. Dark is simply the absence of light. Maybe. Okay. Hey, David, I'm going to make you twitch. Darkons.
Oh, yes. Right.
Basically, the all of the math that allows for photons allows you to flip everything over and say that a darkon is a unit of dark, and that the sun absorbs darkons. You can do the math on that, and it doesn't work in physics, but it works in the math. And so there, my answer to that is darkons. But
so Dave comes back with Pluto does not maintain a singular orbit. It dips inside Neptune's orbit at times. Yes. Does that make it a planet or not?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't read that book.
Well, according to some early, I guess you could call it astronomical history, the planets have all moved around a bunch.
Oh yeah, they've played billiards with, especially like Jupiter coming in and out and knocking other. Yeah. There's some crazy action apparently from before, and there's evidence of it. So they've decided that this is what that means and why it happened. We saw a show about that. Remember? Yeah. What was that show? Do you remember what it was called?
I don't know. We saw it at Chris's. It was a Nova show, and I don't remember what it was.
Okay, so yeah.
Okay, Anthony.
Hello, Anthony. Welcome.
Any thoughts on what might be the biggest discovery made by James Webb Space Telescope when it's fully functional?
I'm gonna go with we're gonna be surprised. I bet.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
And I can't wait.
Maybe there's some guy smoking out there. Whoops. We just saw the heat signature of the cigarette.
Well, and
that'd be surprising.
Some cool things have come out of it. Like they've seen one star with each of the panels so that they can help adjust them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and some other things.
Yeah, we've finally gotten some first light pictures, not fully functional pictures, but
no.
We've got some first light out of it.
Yeah, it's exciting. Okay, so yes, well, size and it's active. What I heard about was that it had more to do with that the orbit, clearing the orbit of all the debris.
And it's possible the fact that it doesn't have its own orbit, like David said, was a factor also, but don't know. But yeah, size.
If you want to show about that, let us know.
Yeah,
we could do that. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I remember your picture there.
Yep. It's a good sign that we can actually get light from the stars in the James Webb Space Telescope. Awesome. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate all the questions and all the comments and the quirky things. Thank you very much. We will keep looking for those, but right now, if you like space, you might like Star Party at your place. It's going to be a choice of me coming to you for your next event or an evening of stargazing with your friends and family. I've been involved with this since 1991, and I have the equipment to bring to you for a nice evening under the stars. Some restrictions may apply, like, can I get there? It's the moon full. Not ideal. Is it clear enough to observe stuff like that? So it would be great if you could call or write. Where's the link? That's there it goes. Call or write today to learn more. Thanks so much.
Okay, some stellar events this week, February 18th through 25th. The planetary action has moved to the mornings. Boo. There's only one 8 o'clock. There's only one 5 o'clock. There's only one 6 o'clock. I'll tell you. It's the one that says PM.
Sure. Okay.
February 22nd. Globe at Night. Their next 10-day project starts, and it's running from February 22nd through March 3rd. The object is once again Orion in both the northern and southern hemispheres. So go out, look at the sky, report what you can see. We did a whole show about Globe at Night and how it works. Check out the Everyday Spacer YouTube channel for July 9th, 2021. February 23rd, weekly space hangout with Pam. And it's another news roundup.
They don't have a guest.
Yeah.
Apparently.
And it's the last quarter moon. February 25th, our Friday night show again. And we're doing the Milky Way project. Find us Fridays at 9 p.m. Pacific time on the Everyday Spacer Facebook page and the Everyday Spacer YouTube channel.
Awesome. Thank you. And we got a couple more questions in here. So let's go and see what Dave Reneke says. Examining like conductive presence of things like oxygen, carbon dioxide. We think would be a life in it. Yes.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool and surprising.
Yeah. If the James Webb can see a planet that's close to a star, yeah. I don't know how good that'll turn out, but we've been surprised before at getting visible light images of planets near stars. So
stay tuned.
Yeah.
All right, Dave. Also, the first evidence of image of the radiation left over from the Big Bang is still just a theory. That's right. I don't know is James Webb going to be able to reach that far back? I think it's really close.
Well, that's just it. It can reach closer than anything else we've ever had.
That's true.
And so
that's true.
It puts us closer to getting the answer.
Yeah, so exciting. It's a great time to be alive, isn't it? All right, so the next part of our show tonight is about ongoing events and activities. You'll recall that we talked about women and girls in astronomy. That's Drawn Astronomy. Their deadline is March the 1st. We got a link for that. You got a link for that?
Hang on, I'm looking. Draw.
Right after the Pam Hoffman. That one.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. That's the one.
Never mind.
Okay. Oh, we forgot that one. Sorry, Globe at Night was in there. Also, the European Space Agency's Build Your Webb Challenge. Get creative and build your own model of the James Webb Space Telescope. Use anything you like. You want to submit your challenge projects to the European Space Agency education team. The selected projects will be displayed in a gallery on the ESA education website. These are for age ranges 6 through 19. We do not see anything about anywhere in the world. So hey, check it out. This is if you know, school, home, whatever. Try it out. If you go to the site and try it out, hopefully it will work for you. Then we have Design Moon Digging Robots, Loon Robotics Junior Contest. This is a NASA-sponsored event. NASA is seeking young engineers to help design a new robot concept for an excavation mission on the moon. The Loon Robotics Junior Contest is open to K-12 students in the United States. This includes public schools, private schools, as well as homeschoolers. You can enter art or you can be a judge if you are outside that age range. The winner from each category will be announced March 29th, 2022. Then we have the second round of Nominate a Student with Perseverance. That's February 1st to the 28th, 6th through 8th graders, also students in the United States from public, private, and home schools. There will be 4 rounds total. So watch for a couple more and some cool awards. We've talked about that before a lot. Then let's see. Oh, you.
Oh, yeah. But before that, let's.
Oh, we got more? Okay,
yeah,
good.
We got more.
Yay.
Cliff says, yeah, the Webb should be able to see atmosphere on exoplanets. So.
Oh, very cool.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's very useful information.
Mm-hmm.
And we have another one?
Yeah. Anthony, David saying, Anthony, I think that will be the detection of livable conditions on a suitably placed exoplanet. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, just having oxygen tells you that something's going on because it doesn't accumulate, because oxygen likes to bind with things, including, that's why Mars is red.
Oh, so free floating oxygen
is
an indicator.
Free oxygen
okay.
is an indicator of something. Okay.
You're really wiggling the table.
Sorry. February 18th, Clyde discovered Pluto. Huh.
Right. But there won't be a one full orbit for a while.
Yep.
I got the date once, but you are very welcome, Anthony. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing your thoughts.
Yep. Okay. If you or someone you know has done something interesting involving space exploration, science, or astronomy, we'd love to share our live. Join us again next Friday, February 25th, for the Milky Way project. I found it on citizenscience.gov, but it is a Zooniverse project. So it's, you can find it on both places.
And we did get something else, so let's hear.
February 20th anniversary of the John Glenn flight. Yep. First American in orbit.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you get the other one, the one on top of that?
Oh, no, I missed it. And going to the moon soon. Yay. Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Very exciting times. Thank you so much, everyone. Dave, Anthony, Cliff. We had Scott. We had, just scrolling through here. Who else did we have?
Oh. Morgan was a drive-by.
Yeah. I think that's it.
Yep.
We really appreciate it. And if you would like to do this again, let us know. We'll work hard to bring really any kind of show you want to you. It's yours. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm thinking,
I can see you thinking.
Maybe we announce it a little bit sooner so that people have more time to get questions in.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. And then we do have a couple of things that, speaking of announcing it sooner, a couple things coming up, like another open mic night. So in other words, we'll have our show. We'll invite you by sending a link to the show into the chat, and you can click on the link and actually appear live with us, side by side, with us on the show and talk to us, that kind of thing. So open mic night, that's going to be in July. So stay tuned for that. Let everybody know. I saw something showed up. What do we get?
Yep, it's Scott. Oh, you're welcome, Scott.
Thank you very much, Scott. We really love sharing our lives with you, and we really love your input, and we'll do what we can to help you out. Find cool stuff, answer cool questions, whatever works.
Mm-hmm.
It's just as much your show as it is our show.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else, anybody? Because I think we are going to.
Oh.
Yep. Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
On top of which tower, Cliff?
Um,
Did we talk about a tower? I missed. I may have missed it.
was that the Saturn Tower or a different tower?
Oh, well, that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, man, woman, doesn't matter to me as long as we're there. Quite frankly, if we're there to stay, it'd be even better. I want a group of people who will be there for a bit.
Yeah, we really need to get out there and see things and do things, not just through our robot proxies.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, seeing no more questions for the moment, we will look for them. Yeah, Artemis, right?
Yeah.
I think it's spelled a little different. I think there's an E in there, or Artemis.
Yeah. But that might be the Australian spelling.
Maybe. All right, folks, thanks so much. We will look for your comments, after the show as well, and try and answer, in the Facebook page, in the YouTube channel, that kind of thing. And we'll be back next week. Have a good one. We'll see you later.
See ya.
Good night.